That is very true. Okay, and then we got Ernest here now. So I'm just gonna quickly review some housekeeping notes as we're all getting familiar with Teams and kind of refamiliarizing ourselves with digital training expectations. Just a reminder to keep yourself muted. That will help the audio clarity be a lot better for everyone on the call. If you have anything to add or questions to ask, you can feel free to utilize the chat. Allie is going to kind of help moderate that. So you can help post questions, or you can post questions there. You can also raise your hand on Teams. If you kind of hover over the screen, you should see that little hand icon pop up. So you can raise your hand and Allie will know that you have a question and she'll speak up on your behalf. And she has been given 100% freedom to interrupt me whenever she needs to. I also posted in the chat and I'm going to share it again. But let me grab this just in case that didn't show up from before for you. I have a link to the notes in case you'd like to follow along. But again, I will be emailing these out at the end of the day tomorrow when I have all of them collected for everyone. So unless there are any questions about the housekeeping items, I'll just jump in. So this training is specifically for some pro tips is what I call it. And I'm going to go through, there we go. If anyone else sees people in the waiting area, feel free to add them if you have permission and access. But I'll go over some of the items in here that I'm considering pro tips. They're more than your basic, like, here's how you add an assignment. You know, it's kind of the next step to make your course a little bit more engaging, more interactive, and maybe more even visually appealing. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is personalization. And this is, I'm going to show you a way to kind of add a personal touch to your course, which is really great if you're teaching online. And all of us have some sort of online component in our courses. So that will be a good one to use. The next one I'll kind of go over is how to add a rubric to your assignment. Also a great way to speed up the feedback process and give students more concrete feedback as to why they were maybe marked lower and how they can improve for next time, while also keeping you sane and saving you time in the long run. The other thing I'm going to talk about is completion tracking. And if you're not familiar with that, it's sort of like a built-in checklist in your courses. And I'll show you why that's cool and why it might even be better for your course compared to the checklist activity. And then I also, this one's going to be probably the most advanced, I would say, but it's called the REIN filter, R-E-I-N. Honestly, I don't remember what it stands for, but it does stand for something. It's a really cool feature, and I'll show you kind of how to use that for like an accordion style thing in your course, but that will be a little bit more HTML-y, but I think you should be able to figure it out if you're a little bit comfortable with that. So that's kind of what I'm using today, and I'll keep joining people as I see them. And then I am going to jump over here to BeaconLearning as I kind of walk through some of these steps. Are there any questions as we get started? Nope. Okay, perfect. In order to show you this personalization filter, I will go into this label that I have here. Is the screen zoomed in enough? Is that okay for everybody? Yeah? Okay. So as you can see right here, it's showing because I'm logged into myself and you're seeing my screen, it's saying Elise. And so the cool thing about that is it'll actually show whoever's logged in and viewing this class, it will show their first name. I don't know if anybody has noticed, but on the home page, you can actually scroll down and see Welcome to BeaconLearning with your first name there. Has anybody noticed that, or is that kind of a best kept secret? Okay, Doyle's nodding. So some of you have probably noticed that. You can use this in a label, which is what this example is, but you can also use it in like a description of an assignment. You can use it in a quiz question. You can use it in quiz feedback. You can use it in an announcement, in a message, pretty much anywhere there is a text field in BeaconLearning, you can use this filter. And all you have to do, I say that like it's pretty simple. You just have to kind of get used to this formatting, I would say. So it does need to be a curly bracket to start, a user in all caps, underscore, and then first name in all caps, no spaces, and an end curly bracket. So there are a few other ones that you can use, and I'll paste those in here now. But I would say this first name is probably my favorite, and it's probably the most applicable to use in your course. So the examples that I gave were a quiz question. So you could say user underscore first name. Imagine you have 4 apples and you give 2 to a friend. How many do you have left? Obviously, for as far as quiz questions go, that is very basic. I'm sure none of us will be using basic math in our quizzes, but you can kind of create that in any of your courses and any of your quiz content. You can make it feel like you're asking that student specifically a question, even though everyone in your course will be seeing their own name. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Again, you can use it in the quiz feedback. So, hey, user underscore first name, this was a tough question. Although I can see why you chose B, let's think about this problem this way, blah, 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 blah. So it feels like direct feedback, even though it's all online and it's all actually immediate and you don't have to be there facilitating that. When it comes to announcements, you can post one announcement for everyone in your course. Hello, user underscore first name. Welcome to course. My name is blah, blah, blah. I'll be your instructor for this course. And everyone will get that email copied to them and they'll see their first name. And when they go back into the announcements forum, they will see their first name there as well. So if you're familiar with the psychology of, reading your first name instead of some generic, hey guys, blah, blah, blah. There is some science behind why you would pick up more on that as an end user. And I think Nani, I don't know if she's on this call today, but a couple years ago when I introduced this, she had experimented with that and she said she was getting more feedback from students when they were seeing their first name as if she was sending them a personalized note, even if it was just a reminder of, something's due today or tomorrow. So I thought that was really interesting. And I thought that was a great reason why to start implementing this option. So does everybody see now those fields that I typed in there? I just pasted them from the outline that I have. All of those are now filled based on the course that I'm in, based on who I'm logged in as and who else is listed as an editing instructor in the course. So it's pretty cool. I like it. I'm also a nerd, so, take that as you will. If you're doing like an assignment/activity description, you could say, this week we covered blah, blah, blah. I think you'll really enjoy using this assignment, comma, user underscore first name. We'll be doing blah, blah, blah. I look forward to reading your thoughts. So that would just be like a really easy way, again, make it feel special to them, not just teaching to 20 other students online. And I think that speaks really, really well to what we do best at NCU is the whole, personal touch thing. But this way you can do it a lot faster, easier, and save yourself time in this crazy season that we're in. So yeah, any questions on personalization filters? Yes, sorry, Tim Bushnell. No questions on personalization. All right, cool. You guys get an A+ already so far. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is rubrics and adding a rubric to an assignment. So I'm just going to throw an assignment in here. Assignment name. I'm not feeling super creative at the moment, so you'll just have to bear with me. Once you add an assignment activity, you'll scroll down and you'll go to the grade section. change the, maximum grade to whatever it is and however many points it is. I think, yeah. And then in this grading method, by default, it's set to simple direct grading, meaning you can just type in whatever score you're giving them. If you change it to this rubric grading method and you scroll down and you hit save, it will ask you to define the rubric that you want to use for this course, or for this assignment, I should say. You can define a new one from scratch or from a template if you have one. I'm going to show you from scratch. And what I would imagine you're doing is you already have the rubric either in Word, PDF, or Excel or something, and you're basically just copying and pasting text over here. So maybe this is your rubric for your weekly assignments. I don't know, whatever it is. You can add different criteria here. So this could be timeliness, spelling, sources and citation, other ideas, content, I don't know, whatever your rubric says. And then you'll enter in the points here, so 0 through however many, and what it would take to meet that criteria. So the one thing that I have been asked multiple times is, can you do this as a range? And you cannot, because the cool thing about this rubric tool is that it will actually calculate them out for you. You'll just need to click the different boxes, and it can't calculate a range in a box here. So it does have to be an integer. Connie, hopefully I used that correctly. And then once you do all of that, you can add as many levels to this as you'd like. And there is this checkbox, calculate grade based on the rubric having a minimum score of 0. If that for some reason is not an option, like if they at least get 5 points for turning something in, you could change that. But that's totally up to you. So let's pretend like I don't know if it'll let me save it since I don't have content. Let's see. I'm just going to make this super simple so I don't have to. Okay, save as draft. Actually, I'm going to save it as it's ready, but you'll notice that it can be confusing on how to get back to that define rubric window. Let's say you didn't want to define your rubric right then, so you move on and you're like, how do I get back to that window? Click into your assignment and scroll down here, and in the administration block, you'll see this advanced grading option. If you expand that, you can now go back and define your rubric that way. So this was saved as a draft, and I'm going to go ahead and save it and make it ready. And you can also publish this as a template. So if you want to save this for another option, for another future assignment, you can. So now, if I go into grade, there's obviously no assignments here, but again, use your imagination. I'm going to expand this little grading box, and I can't see it on this monitor. I can't see the colors, but I think it's changing the colors here. So then you could type in some feedback on these specific criteria, like, oh, you were 3 days late, or you were 3 days early, 100% on this one. Citations looked great. Thanks for the APA stuff. Content, fantastic. Anything that you wanted to put there. Side note, you could also use the personalization filter here on these criteria feedback things. So that will calculate it for you. So I'm going to minimize that. And if I hit save changes, feedback was saved, grade was saved, and there's the grade. I just needed to scroll down a little bit in this side panel here to see that the current grade has been 1 + 0 + 1. So not a great grade, but that's okay. Does that make sense? Does anybody have Questions on that one? Thanks, Connie. Okay, so I don't see any questions on rubrics. So I will go ahead and go back to the course. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is completion tracking. There's kind of two pieces to this, I would say. The first one is the block on the left. So when you're in your course and the editing is turned on, you should be able to scroll down and you'll see add a block. If you choose completion progress, like I have here, this will display for you and for your students. They will only be able to track their own progress in the course, but you'll actually be able to see the progress of all of your students, which is nice. So in this view, you can see the green items are things that have been marked as complete. And I'll show you what that means, but bear with me on that. So a student would go in, mark things as complete either manually or by the criteria that we'll set up. And as they work their way through the course, it'll turn hopefully 100% green. So they kind of, depending on your students, they can really enjoy watching their progress as they move through the course. Some of them probably won't take as much advantage of it as others, and that's fine. You know, I usually add a little blurb in my course resources tab that says this is what this is. This is what the completion progress block is and how you can use it in your course. But it's totally up to you. It doesn't count against you. It doesn't count for you. It's just kind of there as an option. So in each of your activities in your course, if you go into edit and edit settings, you can scroll down to this activity completion section. So this completion tracking setting, by default, it comes in and it will be students can manually mark the activity as completed. So that shows up as like a little, I think it's a dotted checkbox, and they can just check it off whenever they want, which is fine. And it works well for labels if you have videos in a label or read items, things to read like, hey, read chapter 22 in your textbook, and then you can cross this off. That works great for that. But it gets really cool, in my opinion, when you choose the show activity as complete when conditions are met. And the conditions will change based on the activity that you're looking at. So this one is an assignment activity. So you can require a grade. You can require just students to submit something to the activity. Or you can say students must view, they must submit, and they must receive a grade, or any one of these items individually. So for example, on the forums, show activity as complete when conditions are met, you can set it up to automatically get checked if a student creates an X number of forums for discussion posts and or a certain number of replies, or just any number of posts in general. So it could be that they're starting discussions or replying to their peers. So I think that is where it gets pretty cool. And then quizzes, it also will let you do mark activity as complete when conditions are met. They have to either take all of the quizzes available, or they have to get a passing grade as defined by you. And I forget what the other options are, but each different activity comes with a different set of options based on what they are. So the next layer, let's say you want this to have a grade. Sure. If you wanted them to do that assignment before they move on to either another assignment or another tab, once you have that in there, now I can go to this next tab, and I'm going to edit the section for this whole tab. Down here in restrict access, I can add a restriction based on that activity completion option. So I want them to make sure that this is marked complete, this assignment that I just created has to be marked complete, or this whole tab won't display. So that could be an option that you use. Now, maybe you want to also give it a date. So either this week 1 topic has to be marked complete, or it also has to be past September 1st. And that way, even if they don't do that assignment, they still have access to the assignments after September 1st. Does that make sense? Yeah. So then you could kind of make a course where they're just progressively moving through automatically, in a sense, based on their own ability to complete your different activities in there at their own speed, while also maintaining deadlines, if that sounds good. Yeah. Any other questions on that one? Nope. Okay. Solid checkbox is for students mark. Ah, okay. Perfect. So I had it backwards. The dotted one is the automatic. The solid is the manual. Yeah. Okay, so this next one is the one where I said it gets a little bit tricky, but it also gets fun. So with editing turned on, you're going to go back and you're going to add another block. And this one is called Rein Help, R-E-I-N Help. And that gives you this other link over here. So this Rein Help button will open up in a new tab. And all of these, this list here, will take you to different options. Some, I will say, are more accessible and accessibly friendly than others, and that's something that they're working on to update. But my favorite is this accordion one here. So this little help bubble will give you all of this HTML code. So I'm just going to copy this code directly as it is here, and I'm going to go into my label. And here is the key. You have to expand this second row of buttons and toggle the HTML view on. And I'm just going to highlight all of that to get rid of it. And I'm going to paste in the HTML code from this accordion help, okay? So everybody's still with me so far. They are pretty good about giving you little hints and placeholders. So this one is your content 3, this one is your title 3, title 2, content 2, you get the idea. If I turn off this HTML view, you can kind of see some text here, and you can type here. So if I say, here's my content user underscore first name. And if I hit save and display or save and return to course, you'll see it does work there. It saved my text the way I wanted it to. If you're going to get tricky, which you can, for example, if I'm in YouTube, and this one's a fun one, I'm going to take my embed code from here, and I'm going to put it in one of my content panes. I would recommend doing this with the HTML view on, just because, you know, you get some of this gobbledygook HTML stuff all confused. It can be kind of crazy. But anyways, I'll paste that in here for my content 2, and I'm going to save and return to course. And now in my second pane, I have this video that I just embedded. Is everybody still mostly with me? Okay, cool. There's some other stuff that you could embed. For example, if maybe you're converting your course and you have a table that you've built out from a text box and you want to paste that table in here. I'll show you an example of that one. So I think it's in one of these. Yeah. So Princess had made a table in a label. I had actually copied it and pasted it into this accordion using the HTML from both. So that way you don't have to get too, I'm not ever writing HTML from scratch. I'm basically just copying and pasting it where it belongs. The problem is if you don't put it where it belongs, things can get a little wonky. So what I usually recommend and what I do myself is I'll duplicate it before I do something drastic or something that might potentially ruin the whole thing. If it works, great, I can just delete the duplicate. If it doesn't work, then I have a backup from before I broke it. So that would be something I would recommend, is if you start playing around with this, duplicate it and delete it, you know, if it works. So does anybody have questions on that? It does save you a lot of space in your course. So instead of just seeing this huge block of text and contact name, in this specific example, we've broken it up into departments and contact information by department. And I think that that is easier for students. It's easier on their devices, so they're not scrolling. It's also more visually appealing, and for you, you also don't have to see all of that text at the same time either. This is the rain. Let me back up. The block is called Rain Help. The button in that block is called Access Rain Help. And on that Rain Help tab, this one specifically is called Accordion. And I think I have an example in one of these. This is the side tabs. You'll notice, I think as I zoom in, and if my window had been squished more narrow, sometimes the text doesn't really wrap around so well in the tabs, but in the accordions, I haven't seen that as a problem. So that's why I was kind of just pointing out that some are they're more responsive and more accessibly friendly. So one of those examples on here, just to kind of keep those things in mind, is, what's a good one here? A drop bubble. You can drag and drop things inside a circle, and those usually require the use of a mouse. So if you have a student who might have some different needs for mobility and stuff, like if they can only use a keyboard, this isn't the most friendly for them. So just keep that in mind with your users. You should know all of that sort of stuff, that accessibility stuff, from the Office of Accessibility Services. I don't have that information on that, so that would just be something for you to consider on a case-by-case basis. Are there any other questions? There are a lot of options here, so I would recommend, you know, looking through, playing with them. There's another fun one, flip cards. They look like little flashcards, and if you hover over them with your mouse, again, though, that's mouse friendly, so keep that in mind. But they look like little flashcards, so I think that's fun. And then this one's like a book, so you can click through and you can put content on here, go back and forth. And I think that one may or may not be usable with a keyboard. I don't have all these memorized, obviously, but. Oh, Bethany, perfect. Notice of accommodations. Perfect, there we go. Does anyone have questions on some of these different options? Nope, okay. Perfect. Any questions on accessibility? Nope, okay. So one way that you could break the accordion content out is if you had like a read, attend, discuss, you could break that out, or maybe you have it by topic. You know, I want you to read this first on this guy and then this person, and yeah, so perfect. I think I'll show, since Bethany's on the call, I'll show the week 2 academics. They also used this accordion pane, and so I think they have a video in each one based on the category or the topic. So that's fun. And that way you don't just see the huge long list of embedded videos. Yeah. Questions, comments, concerns, ways that you envision using anything we've covered in your courses so far? Did we at least get the gears going? Yeah, okay. I saw some head nods, that's good. Okay, well, I encourage you to play around with some of that in your course. Tomorrow afternoon, I want to say it's 3 o'clock. 3:30. I'll be on a Teams call. And so if you get stuck on any of that stuff, I'm just calling it a workshop or a troubleshooting opportunity. So you can jump in on the call and you can share your screen and we can figure out what's going wrong or how to get something to work for you in your course. Perfect. Well, thanks everyone for coming. I will stop recording. And again, you can look for that